The UK is building Ukraine's drone shield, thousands per month. Russia keeps throwing Shaheds at Ukraine like they're free. The UK is responding like it's buying ammo, not showing off science projects, because this is the real shift here. Not one shiny prototype, not one heroic press release, industry volume. And yes, there is a specific interceptor drone at the center of this story, Octopus. Ukraine and the UK signed a licensing agreement tied to producing it in Britain, with talk of output reaching several thousand units per month, then shipping them to Ukraine. If that pace holds, Russia's drone spam starts meeting the bouncer at the door. Hey everyone, Wes O'Donnell here, veteran, law grad, and yes, I'm still mad at the British for what they did to the White House in 1814. How uncivilized, Your Majesty!
So uncivilized.
I'm kidding. Water under the bridge, you bastards. I can't stay mad at you. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been here a while, you already know my favorite genre is Ukraine takes the stuff Russia brags about and turns it into public humiliation. Today we're talking about interceptor drones, why manufacturing tempo matters more than tech demos, and how Britain is helping Ukraine build something that changes the nightly math. And I f***ing hate math. That's why I went to law school. Let's set the board. Russia's long-range strike campaign leans hard on cheap one-way attack drones, especially Shahed variants and Russian-built clones. The idea is simple. Flood the sky, saturate defenses, force Ukraine to waste high-end interceptors on low-end targets, and slip a few through to hit power plants, factories, and apartment blocks. Ukraine has gotten very good at knocking these down, yet the cost curve stays ugly. Ukraine needs a middle layer, something cheaper than missiles, something more reliable than small arms fire, and scalable enough to meet every night attacks. This is where interceptor drones come in. And in November of 2025, Ukraine's Ministry of Defense and the UK MOD signed a licensing agreement connected to large-scale production of the Octopus interceptor drone in the UK, with delivery intended for Ukraine. That matters because licensing plus production lines is the opposite of boutique aid. It is repeatable, it is predictable, and it feeds a pipeline. So why does production beat prototypes? Well, a prototype wins a trade show. Production wins a war. A single clever drone does nothing to stop a mass raid. 1,000 drones delivered every month start forcing Russia to adjust routes, altitudes, timing, and launch sites. Scale creates pressure. Scale creates adaptation. Scale creates a new baseline where Russia's cheap attacks stop being cheap. The licensing agreement language is the tell. You do not sign licensing deals for a one-off gesture. You sign licensing deals because you want factories running, parts ordered, workers trained, and output scheduled. Now, people hear interceptor drone and imagine a tiny fighter jet doing Top Gun stuff at 400 knots. Reality is less romantic. It's closer to pest control with electronic warfare. And interceptor drone has to do 5 things well. First, detect and cue. Somebody has to spot the incoming drone early enough to matter. They can come from radars, acoustic arrays, EO sensors, spotters, or a fused air picture. Now, the interceptor drone itself may carry some sensors, yet the system itself matters more than the airframe. If the cue arrives late, the interceptor spends its life chasing taillights. Now, Shaheds are not fast, yet they also don't sit still. The interceptor needs speed and acceleration that lets it catch the target with margin to spare, not with luck. It also has to be able to survive electronic warfare. This is the part everyone ignores until the first time the drone flies into a GPS-denied box and suddenly believes it's in Minsk. Interceptors need resilient navigation, solid data links, and autonomy for terminal guidance. Russia jams, Ukraine jams, the air is loud. If your drone needs perfect comms to do the last 300 meters, it becomes an expensive lawn dart. It also needs to be able to kill reliably. And when I say kill, I mean several different things. A direct hit, a proximity effect, a fragmentation device, a net, a shaped blast, even a controlled collision. Whatever the method, it needs repeatable results. Now, if the success rate is a coin flip, commanders stop trusting it. It needs to be cheap enough to use every day. This is the point. The interceptor has to win the exchange rate. If it costs almost as much as the threat, you've built a very polite failure. So here's why Britain matters, because Britain's contribution is not only here are some drones. The strategic value is industrial behavior. When a partner nation helps turn a Ukrainian design into monthly output, it shortens iteration cycles. It also diversifies production away from Ukrainian factories that Russia would love to target. This is why the Octopus licensing story matters. Ukraine's government described it as a licensing agreement for large-scale production. Now, I want to go back and just address the several thousand units per month claim. It is the kind of sentence Moscow hates because Moscow understands math. It just struggles with everything else. The real story is tempo and iteration. Here's how this works in practice. Ukraine tests a concept in combat. It finds a failure point very quickly. Guidance gets jammed, fuses misbehave, batteries sag in cold weather, data links drop near urban clutter, whatever. The target set evolves. A slow procurement system treats each fix like a committee meeting. A wartime drone ecosystem treats fixes like software or firmware updates. These things need to be able to be patched very quickly to adapt to the fast-moving ground war in Ukraine. Now add the manufacturing tempo from the UK. If you can build hundreds, then thousands, you can afford aggressive testing, quick modification, and rapid fielding. That cycle is how you beat Russia's volume strategy. Not with a miracle, with repetition. And Britain is leaning into that mindset. Consistent pipeline, licensing, production capacity, delivery. Again, this is the opposite of one cool drone at a podium. Russia's approach is quantity has a quality all its own. Ukraine's response is, fine, meet quantity with smarter quantity. So here's how this impacts the war. Russia's drone raids get more expensive faster. If interceptors soak up a meaningful percentage of incoming drones, Russia has three bad options. Launch more, which burns inventory and money, switch tactics, which takes time and training, or accept reduced effectiveness, which defeats the whole point of your campaign. I believe they're going to do that, accept reduced effectiveness. Russia loves cheap attacks that force Ukraine into expensive responses. Interceptor drones can flip that trade. The other big implication is that Ukraine saves high-end interceptors for high-end threats, right? We've talked about that before. If drones handle drones, missiles handle missiles. That sounds obvious, but it's also how you keep Patriot, NASAMS, IRIS-T, SAMP-T, and other systems focused on cruise missiles and ballistic threats, instead of spending premium rounds on bargain targets. The other big implication is that this is the blueprint for Allied support. The UK help here is instructive. Support does not always mean sending your own finished systems. Sometimes it means turning Ukraine's combat-proven designs into mass output, safely outside Ukraine's immediate strike radius. That is how you build a long war posture that doesn't collapse under nightly raids. Then Russia's psychological campaign weakens. A major goal of the Shahed campaign is fear and fatigue. Air raid sirens, sleepless cities, damaged infrastructure, freezing, constant stress. If interceptors start knocking down large portions of raids, the psychological effect changes. People stop feeling hunted. They start feeling defended. And that matters because authoritarian regimes rely on exhaustion. Ukraine runs on stubbornness. Russia keeps trying to outlast a country that literally improvises air defense in parking lots. So here's the bottom line. The UK is treating drones like ammunition. Ukraine is treating interceptors like a consumable layer of air defense. The Octopus licensing agreement signals an intent to push production at scale in Britain, with reported output reaching several thousand per month for delivery to Ukraine. If Ukraine can field interceptor drones in real volume, Russia's drone spam starts bouncing. Not because Russia runs out of ideas. Russia has ideas. Most of them are terrible. But the problem is that Russia runs into a wall of repeatable, cheap kills night after night. And that, my friends, is not sustainable. And if you're wondering what happens next, watch for two signals: sustained monthly delivery numbers and evidence Ukraine is integrating interceptors into a wider sensor and command network. Those are the tells. That's the war. And that's it for today, my friends. Subscribing is the best free way to support these videos and keeps me from working as a stuntman on an adult film set. That is not the credit you want on your IMDb page. And as always, glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. Crimea is Ukraine.